I'm Dick Hubbard, and I did food technology starting at Massey University in 1965. I crammed 4 years into 5 and graduated in 1970. Oh, it's a deep honour, there's no doubt about that. We were certainly acutely aware of the Peren name when we were at university, and even though it was well before our time, there was an ethos associated with the name that permeated right through the university. So I consider it a very great honour, not just to receive the medal, but to have the Peren name associated with this medal. One of the delights of being at my age and stage is that you also give a little bit of advice to the university on looking ahead as to where it should go. And if there's one area I think that I would like to see Massey putting some more emphasis on in the future, and that's the residential accommodation. I came up through the university hostel system, and to me that was a stunning part of the whole education package at Massey. That's where I made friends, that's where we bonded with the university, and that's largely where a lot of the memories come from. And I think Massey is uniquely positioned to be able to do a lot more in the area of residential development, particularly here at Albany, but also at the other campuses. So I would strongly encourage the Council of Massey, the hierarchy of Massey and management of Massey, to look forward and say in 50 years' time, can there be at least 2, 3 or 4 times more residential accommodation on campus than there is now? In fact, I quite like the term Hubbard Hall. There's lots of funny occasions, and one very, very brief one that I can remember well was the Honourable Sir Lockwood Smith, who's a very highly respected person in New Zealand now, actually went as a student in Zoology 1 with me. He went and dropped my dogfish out of the 3rd floor science building onto the rose garden below. I've never forgiven him for it, and retribution is still in the offing. My advice would be that once you graduate, get overseas, not just for the OE, that's good in itself, but try and work overseas for 2 to 3 years in a strange environment, different country, because I've found over the years that those that have done that and have come back to New Zealand have had their edges rounded, understand the world, understand themselves a lot better, and are well placed to make a contribution in their home country of New Zealand. People often ask me what my major achievement was in my working career, and no, it wasn't setting up Hubbard Foods, and it wasn't making breakfast cereals, but what I like to think that I'd be remembered for is moving the debate on sustainability and socially responsible business practice. And when I started talking about these issues 20 years ago, it was very much a case of people turning around and saying, why should we do this? What's the reason? What's the rationale? 20 years later, that debate has changed significantly for the better. And people in the corporate world and in government too are turning around now and saying, not why do it, but rather how do we do it? How do we go about it? Seeing that debate change is very, very rewarding for me.